It's time for the mid-year freakout tag. We are sitting in the south of France. I have a cup of tea, I have a pain au chocolat, and our host has incredible bookshelves that I get to film in front of. Let's give this a try. It's from a new bakery. We've become something of pastry snobs since we've been in France. I would give that one a 6 out of 10. No pain au chocolat I think can never be below a 5, as they're all incredible. The chocolate in that one is very good, but the pastry could be better. Okay, let's do the mid-year freakout tag. I'm late. It's August as I film this, but we can still chat about the year so far. I've read 22 books so far this year, which is actually the lowest that I have ever read at the halfway mark in the year, and we are well past the halfway mark of this year. And honestly, I have a lot of thoughts about that, so many that we are devoting an entire video to it, which is the video that you will see next week. I feel like this chair is like slowly turning as I speak. Get back to center. Okay, let's do this tag. This is one of my favorite videos to do every year. The first question is my favorite book of 2025, which is so easy. My favorite book of 2025 so far, and honestly, I would be shocked if something beat this. It's The 10 Incarnations of Rebellion by Vaishnavi Patel. And the great news is that when I initially promoted this, it was months away from release date. The book is now out, so you can all go and read it. This is the author of Goddess of the River and Kaikeyi. I love her writing so much. Vaishnavi Patel is one of my favorite authors. Vaishnavi Patel's first 2 books were retellings of Hindu stories, and this book, 10 Incarnations of Rebellion, is an alternate history in which India is still a British colony. This book has instant classic energy to me. It is so well thought out, and the characters really jump off the page. Our main character, Kalki, is such a real person, and that she says and does things that are really big mistakes. She makes a lot of mistakes throughout this book, and those mistakes have incredible consequences that are very impactful to her life and to the lives of people around her. The way that this book is structured is also incredibly smart. The book starts out with the line, "I learned to hope at 19," and as we continue through the book, Kalki gets older and we get to see the different things that she learns along the way. I just have to read you the opening of this book. The language in here is just so beautiful. It sucks you in right away, and I think just me reading you the first paragraph is gonna give you way more than I could possibly tell you in my own limited vocabulary. So, I learned how to hope at 19. It started with a song. I could not know what was to come. The blood that would stain the streets, the fire that would fill the skies, the scars that would carve our souls. But even if I had, still I would have chosen it. Still, I would have set myself on the path of rebellion. So we are indeed following some freedom fighters in India, and Vaishnavi Patel's great-grandfather was a freedom fighter in India, so she says that this book is kind of like an ode to her grandfather in a small way. And like I said earlier, throughout this book, our characters make some really big mistakes, and I really love how we sat with them in that guilt and in that hurt. And we also saw them achieve really incredible things. And I loved how human this was. Yes, we're talking about the liberation of India from British colonialism, but we are also talking about this one individual and her life and how she is discovering things about herself and learning things about how to interact with other people and how to make mistakes and live with the consequences of your actions. Something that I found to be incredibly touching about this book, and it reminds me of R.F. Kuang's writing a lot, and these 2 authors are very good friends, which I think is very fun. They're both writing at an extremely high caliber. They've both written fiction before where they take inspiration from real life events, and you kind of get to the end of the book and you read this author's note and you want to restart the whole book all over again because there's so much history in it. The things that the British are doing in this book are all taken from real events that happened, as well as a lot of the things that our freedom fighters are doing as well. And so you kind of get this history without it being historical fiction because it is an alternate history. It is such an interesting world that Vaishnavi Patel has created in this town. We get to see kind of the long-term impacts had India stayed under England's rule, and we get to see her imagine that world, but we also get a lot of this real history that I think is incredibly educational I thought it was fantastic. I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely tore through it. And if I recommend you one thing in the entire year, and maybe this will be the same book that I'm talking about at the end of the year, but I absolutely loved it. It is out now, so definitely go and pick it up. Our second question is my favorite sequel, and I actually have 2 to share with you. One of them we're going to talk about a little bit later, so I'm just going to mention it here. It's Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret. Fantastic third book in this murder mystery series. But the one that I want to chat about with you right now is To You at the Altar. I really loved this one. This is by Rebecca Thorne, and I first came across this author when she was independently publishing all of her books. Her first book, Can't Spell Tea Without Treason, was a bit of a TikTok sensation, and that's where I got connected with this author, and I was able to get an arc of the 3rd book, which I was very thankful for. The 2nd book wasn't my favorite. I liked the first one better. I still had a good time with it, but this 3rd book I think is my favorite in the whole series. I really love following an established relationship, and that was one of my favorite things about the first book, and it really came full circle in this one because the author and I both got married around the same time, and I could definitely tell that she was in the midst of wedding planning while she was writing this book, because it so accurately portrays the stress of planning a wedding, and it's also has this beautiful fantasy backdrop. So we have our mage, we have our retired Queen's Guard, and their relationship is so real and so beautiful. And that is my favorite part of this series by far. In this book, they are getting married, which is very sweet. But there's also a lot of other things going on. We're planning an entire coup. It gets very interesting. So there are stakes in here, but I would still class this as cozy fantasy because you kind of know that everything's all going to work out in the end. I really do love authors who write cozy fantasy as well as darker fantasy. Rebecca Thorne is one of those authors. Kind of reminds me of T. Kingfisher in a way, because when I pick up a T. Kingfisher book, I know that there are going to be moments of peril and darkness, but I know if I'm reading one of her cozy fantasies, everything is going to work out in the end. And that's kind of the same way that I feel about this series with Rebecca Thorne. And that is kind of like my preferred cozy fantasy. Oh, quick note here also about this author is she was picked up by Tor. And so this is the first of her books that I have read that was edited by a traditional publishing editor. And I think it really worked well for her. You can tell that Rebecca Thorne is obviously a fantastic writer, and having that publishing engine behind her just gave her that extra bit of polish that makes her books even that much better. So would highly recommend picking up this entire series. The 3rd question is my favorite reread, and I have not reread anything this year. So let me know in the comments, what are the books that you reread over and over and over again? For me, it's The Monk and the Robot duology. I feel like I'm gonna try to pick something off of these shelves. I'm excited to do some things with these shelves because we're here for a few weeks and our hosts have a lot of books. So if you spot anything behind me that you think I should read, please let me know. Question 3 is my new favorite genre. This is the graph of all of the books that I have read this year and the genres that I have read. Fantasy being at the top is not surprising to me. A lot of the books that I read are fantasy or have fantasy as one of their genres. LGBTQIA being up there, not surprising to me. We love to read queer stuff. But historical being number 3 is very shocking to me. My 3rd and 4th top genres are historical and history, which is very different than any other year. Let me explain why. I am currently traveling for 9 months, and I love traveling, and I really love learning about the places that I visit, so I have been picking up a lot more history books, learning about the places that I have been going. So I've been reading more history nonfiction because of that. That makes sense to me. But historical being up there is still shocking to me because historical fiction is the genre that I typically avoid. Like, I do not like historical fiction usually, and I tend to avoid it. So it being my top 3 genre is shocking to me. If we break that down, we look at the books that I've read, there's only 3 of them. So it's Strange Beasts, The Buffalo Hunter, and 10 Incarnations of Rebellion. 10 Incarnations of Rebellion is my favorite book of 2025 so far. The Buffalo Hunter is up there as one of my favorite books I have read this year, but Strange Beasts I did not enjoy. And I think that just goes to show that an author can really make a book for me. Like Vaishnavi Patel and Stephen Graham Jones, I would read anything that they write regardless of what genre it's in, and that's why I think I picked up this historical fiction. No, I think 10 Carnations of Rebellion would have been interesting to me regardless of who wrote it. I think the way that they use language made me love this genre that I don't typically love. I think maybe historical fiction gets a bad rap because a lot of it is just like World War II stuff, and I'm just not really interested in learning about a woman who's falling in love with a Nazi. It's just like not something I want. That's what's up with my genres. And somehow my battery is already dying, so let me go fix that. Okay, new battery, back in business. Oh yeah, we can talk about new releases now. Okay, so the first one is a new release that I haven't read yet, and I have like 5 things to talk to you about. Number 1 is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This is folk horror. I love folk horror, and I'm very excited to pick this up. I also want to read Overgrowth. This is by Mira Grant, which is Shauna McGuire's pen name for when she writes horror. It has like a 3.64 on Goodreads, but it says Day of the Triffins meets Little Shop of Horrors. It's a harrowing alien invasion story about being human. I love stories about being human, so I'm excited about this. Especially because this is a girl who's been telling people since she was 3 that she is an alien disguised as a human being. I feel like it's kind of giving Humans by... Who's this by? Matt Haig, but in a more horror way. So I'm interested to pick it up. Please let me know if you've read any of these releases already, because I've been a little out of commission the past 4 months and I want to know if they're worth my time. So influence or de-influence me from these. The third thing I want to read is A Drop of Corruption, and I know one of my channel members already read this and loved this. This is the second book in the Shadow of a Leviathan series. The first one was The Tainted Cup, and I ate that thing up. I loved that book so much. It made my top 10 of the year. Absolutely adored it. I really, really, really want to pick that up. I love how rich of a fantasy world it is while still being a super interesting murder mystery. The first one made me want to pick up everything this author's ever written. He also wrote the Foundry Side series, which I desperately want to get to. The second to last thing I want to mention to you is A Song for You and I by Kay O'Neill. This is by the author of The Tea Dragon Society, which I know was a huge hit a few years ago. I've continued to keep up with Kay O'Neill's releases. I've loved all of them. The Moth Keeper was amazing last year, so I'm very, very excited to try this one out. These are middle grade graphic novels. I think the art is always beautiful, and I am a little bummed because I don't know when I'm going to be able to pick this up because I do not have access to physical books while I'm traveling, and graphic novels on the Kindle, you don't get all the fun colors. I don't have a Kindle color, so maybe I'll try reading it on my phone. I've done that with graphic novels before, but I might just wait and get the full experience. But this one is a Ranger, which I'm very excited about. I love Ranger stories. What was that series that I read as a kid? The Ranger's Apprentice. My brother loved those, and I also ate them up after he was done with them. It seems to be a little fantasy romance too. It looks adorable. And the last thing is The River Has Roots. This is by Amal Almoltar, who is one of the authors who wrote This Is How You Lose the Time War, and it's a fairy story. So I feel like I have to read it. The quote that is on the description is, "Oh, what is stronger than a death, 2 sisters singing with one breath." I don't really want to know any more than that. I know this is going to have something to do with fairy, it's going to have something to do with death, and there's a river involved. Sign me up. I want to know more. Those are all the things that are out currently that I haven't yet read. Here are all the things that are coming out in 2025 that I am greatly anticipating. Number 1 is A Mouthful of Dust. This is the 6th book. I can't believe there are already 6 books in the Singing Hills cycle. This starts with the Empress of Salt and Fortune. I love Nevo's writing, and I can't wait to pick up the next one. Each one of these books has something to say about storytelling, and we are following a cleric Chi. They have this bird companion that remembers everything, and we are oftentimes either witnessing history or hearing about times past and recording that as well. Another new release in a series that I'm excited about is What Stalks the Deep. This is the 3rd book in the Sworn Soldiers series by my favorite author, T. Kingfisher. I'm really excited to see what Alex gets up to in this one. I think we're going to America? We are going to America, not just any America. We're going to mysterious depths of a coal mine. The covers for this series are just beautifully decayed, and this one is also horrifying in a way that really scratches my brain. When T. Kingfisher released the first book in this series, which is What Moves the Dead, it was a retelling of The Fall of the House of Usher. And when she released it, she said that she had an idea for like, not the first book in this series. She created at least the first two. And I think maybe it was the third book that she said she wrote this whole series for. If that's true, I can kind of see how it might be this book, because T. Kingfisher lives in North Carolina and she loves to write horror that is set in Appalachia. And this is set in West Virginia, so I'm very interested to see what this one is going to be about. Maybe it's the fourth one, maybe it's this one. I don't know. Maybe this is just where we need to get to America so that T. Kingfisher can write the fourth book, but I'm gonna eat it all up. We're following this sworn soldier, and I love this fantasy world that we're in. I love all of T. Kingfisher's fantasy worlds, but really excited for this third one. Okay, R.F. Kuang has a new book coming out. I'm sure you all know about it. It's called Catabasis. I cannot wait to read this. If I was in the States, I would be showing up to my local indie on release day to pick up a copy. It's another dark academia. We have two graduate students who are apparently in a bit of a rivalry with each other, and they are journeying to hell to save their professor. Nothing could make me more excited about a book. This sounds very similar to me to the Ninth House Hellbent situation, and I did very much enjoy those, but I felt like the pacing and the structure was maybe a little bit off, and I think similar story, R.F. Kuang in charge. I'm really excited to see what happens. Okay, then the last thing I want to talk about is The Possession of Alba Diaz. This is the latest release from Isabel Cañas, who wrote The Hacienda and Vampires of El Norte. I love The Hacienda. It is one of my favorite horror books of all time, one of my favorite haunted house stories of all time. I love the way that she mixes romance and horror. I think she does a really, really good job of it. I prefer The Hacienda, where we have mostly horror with a little bit of romance. I think Vampires of El Norte is great for romance lovers who are trying to get into the horror genre, but it wasn't my favorite. So I'm really excited for The Possession of Alba Diaz, just to see kind of what side of that line this one is going to sit on. And like the title implies, we have a demonic possession in here. We are set in 1765 in a Mexican silver mine. Isabel Cañas is an incredible author. The way that she writes horror is truly terrifying. I can't wait to see what she does with a possession story. Okay, those are all of the anticipated releases that are out now and yet to come. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about some things that were a little bit disappointing. My most disappointing reads of 2025 were When the Crow's Away and Strange Beasts. We've already touched briefly on Strange Beasts. This was a historical fiction. I was excited about it, but it felt not polished enough for me. I was pretty bored reading it. It was just not what I was looking for. I think it just read to me too much like fan fiction, and it was just not what I wanted. When the Crow's Away is my most disappointing read of the year. It's not a bad book by any means. I gave this 3 stars. I did enjoy reading it, but the first book in this series is just so well done that I think this one had a little bit of sequel syndrome, had a little bit of second book in a trilogy vibes, second book in a series vibes, where we have this really great first book that was fantastic as a standalone, and now we've decided to create a series out of it, and we need a bridge book to get to the rest of it. The first book had so much to say about grief and so much to say about taking care of yourself and finding yourself and how to lean on others as well, and just processing grief and the ups and downs and non-linear way that grief takes hold of you. I thought it was really, really beautiful. It's a fantastic fantasy murder mystery. We're following this coven of witches, centering around our main character who has some grief that she is dealing with, and that's affecting her powers. It's also a murder mystery, which is very interesting. So we get this really cozy family leaning on each other, bickering with each other, trying to work through this grief. And then we also have this kind of fun, silly murder mystery happening in the background as well. The second book just didn't really do it for me. I really loved the first one. I am probably going to pick up the third one just to kind of see what's up. I'll be getting it from my library though. I don't think I'll be spending any money on that one until I determine the direction this series is going. I just felt like it maybe, I don't know, I don't want to say it like cheapened the first book, but it did. I feel like try to wrap some things up very quickly that I felt like needed a little bit more time. Okay, let's talk about my biggest surprise of 2025. This is something I have not talked about at all on my channel, and I will be talking about very in-depth in a video coming up, but that video is not out yet, so I'm not gonna hide this from you. It's by the sea. It's by Abdurrazak Gurna, and it is the book that really made me fall back in love with reading again. As many of you know, I took a 4-month break from YouTube. I did not read very many books at all during that time. And over the past few weeks, I've really reignited my love for reading. I've been reading a lot more. And By the Sea is the book that reminded me why I love literature so much. It is a mastery of the English language. It is so incredibly well written. Like I mentioned before, I've been reading some more nonfiction about the different places that we are traveling to. This was the first kind of one that I did. I really thought that the nonfiction would give me more information and help me to understand a place more than the fiction would. And this book just like made that not the case at all. It's fiction, and I learned way more about Zanzibar and Tanzania through this book than I did through the nonfiction book that I read about that place. This book is masterful because it weaves in these historical events. We're watching Zanzibar and Tanzania go through different phases of being colonized by different countries, as well as their independence movement, as well as communism coming in. It was so much more impactful to learn about those things through an individual's experience of them. There's so much humanity in this book. And there's this quote that I love that I think sums up why I love it so much. Our main character says, "I don't know a great truth which I ache to impart, nor have I lived an exemplary experience which will illuminate our conditions and our times. Though I have lived, I have lived." Amazing book. I'm gonna stop talking about it because I want to gush about it in a video that is coming to you very soon. Next up is my favorite new author. Abby Jimenez has solidified herself as one of my favorite authors. Here's something that I learned about Abby Jimenez recently. Up until this point, she has written every book that she has ever written on her phone. She's not had a laptop that she writes from. She does not have an office that she writes from. She has kids. She raises her kids. And in the little moments that she gets in between, she sits down and types away with her thumbs on her phone and writes the most devastating romance that I have ever read. Every time I read one of her books, I sob big fat tears out of my eyes. And she writes that on her phone? Genius. I have so much respect for this woman. I just don't know how she does it. Cool update though, she is renovating her house and she's about to have her own office, so I can't wait to see what she's probably gonna like break all of us. I'm gonna be a puddle of tears. If she can do this with her thumbs, what is she gonna do with all of her fingers on a laptop? I'm a little scared to find out. I read Say You'll Remember Me by this author and ate it up. I would say also honorable mention, excuse me, to Stephen Graham Jones and Vaishnavi Patel because they keep putting out books that I am just eating up. Okay, my new favorite character is Nadia from Adrift and Currents, Clean and Clear. This is by Seanan McGuire. This is maybe the 9th book in the Wayward Children series. It's portal fantasy. We're following these children as they find portals to other worlds that are perfect for them. They find these portals because life in our reality is not going well for them. And so they go to these other worlds and they find where they are accepted, and then they all end up back in our world, and it is a hard adjustment for them. Seanan McGuire always has some sort of representation or social commentary in her books, and in this one we're following an individual who is disabled. Nadia was born with one arm, and she never feels the lack of that arm until she is adopted by an American family and forced to wear a prosthetic. And then all anyone sees about her is her prosthetic. They stop talking to her as an individual and start talking about her arm. She never felt that lack until society put it on her. We also get to follow Nadia so much longer than a lot of our other characters. We get to see her grow up and become a young woman and choose what she's going to do with her life. It made me really know her and understand her, and it made the losses that she experiences so much worse and so much harder hitting, because I really felt like we knew and understood her throughout this very short novella. And actually reading this one made me desperate for more information about Nadia, so I think I'm gonna go back and reread this whole series. Maybe that will be my reread. Maybe we'll reread the entire series in anticipation of the next book coming out. The next question is a book that made me cry. As mentioned previously, Abby Jimenez made me sob like a little baby when I read Say You'll Remember Me. This is a beautiful story of these two people, and they have this fantastic first date, and it seems to be kind of an endless first date. It goes on forever and ever, and things go wrong, and it just keeps extending. Then they're not able to be together, and it is so heartbreaking. I said this in last week's video, but to have a love where you would do anything to be with that person, and the circumstances of your life make it very, very difficult to be with that person, is a hurt that I just cannot imagine. That just sounds so awful and horrible. And that's what our main characters are dealing with. And that book made me cry a lot. But a book that made me happy is Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret. I mentioned this before. These are Australian murder mysteries. They break the fourth wall. They talk direct to reader. They tell you when the murders are gonna happen. They try to kind of egg you on into solving the mystery yourself before it's revealed to you. For someone to be able to do that, for an author to be able to write a book where he's telling you when things are gonna happen, he's telling you this is how a Christmas special is written, this is how a sequel is written, this is how a murder mystery is written. So here's the points in which the murders are going to happen. Here are suspects. Who do you think did it? And to still be surprised and entertained, it's really artful and it's really masterful. And I always have a huge smile on my face the whole time I read these books. I will continue picking up absolutely anything that this author writes, because I think he has such a mastery of the genre and of his craft, and he's also doing it in a really new and unique way, and it puts a huge smile on my face. Okay, next up is our most beautiful book, which is Homegrown Magic. I actually got an ARC of this, and I just could not stop staring at the cover. It's so beautiful. The purple hair of our female main character, I want purple hair. Actually, here's what I've decided to do, maybe in part because of this book. I'm getting so much gray hair. I am 26, but I have a lot of gray. I've been graying since I was 16 years old. So here's what I'm gonna do. I've decided I'm gonna start using overtone in my hair when I make it back to the States, or if I find overtone overseas, I will overtone, and then just my gray will be that color, and then I can have like a little bit of red or a little bit of purple in my hair. I think that would be really fun. So that's potentially my plan. Anyways, I really like the purple hair of the individual in this book. I just think the colors are really beautiful. The purple and the red and the green and this kind of like dark tealy blue is really, really beautiful. The cat sitting at the bottom on top of Yellow's head is hilarious. The spades, little flowers, the details, the strawberries. I just think it's really, really beautiful. I did also enjoy this book. It started as a D&D campaign from our two authors, which is really, really fun and cute, and turned into this very fun book. It's a cozy fantasy. It wasn't like my favorite cozy fantasy that I've ever read, but it is really, really sweet, and I would highly recommend that you pick it up. It has a lot of conversations about like not wanting to grow up and pick your life trajectory. Also has a lot of conversations about pressure put on you, trying not to let people down. I enjoyed the themes, and I think it could be the right book for a lot of people. Books I need to read by the end of the year. I have two. These are books I cannot get in the States. I want to try to find and acquire them while I am here. So I need to read So Thrilled for You, and I need to read Half-Arsed Human. Lena Norms is one of my favorite YouTubers, and she wrote a book called Half-Arsed Human, and it is about doing things halfway. And I'm really, really interested in picking it up, but unfortunately, I can't get it here. I read her book of poems and really enjoyed that. And then So Thrilled for You is supposed to be a really great book about motherhood. Hannah Witten, another one of my favorite YouTubers, has recommended this up and down, bought so many copies of it to give to her friends because she thinks it is exceptional and that anyone who has kids needs to read it or has friends who have kids. So I'm gonna pick that one up. And I am still working on, as I have been for like 2 years now, a motherhood video. So I'm trying to read as many books as I can about motherhood. And I think this one needs to be at the top of my list. Okay, my camera is telling me it's getting overheated, so we'll see if it lasts for these last 2 questions. The next question is my favorite video. I had a hard time picking this one because looking back over the stuff I've made this year, I don't know if I'm super proud of a lot of it, but I am really proud of this video. Warning, these books will make you want to travel. Okay, well, that was short-lived, but you have had a timeout in the freezer and you were nice and cool now. This is the video that I am proud of because I felt really creative while I was making it, and that is a rare occurrence, or was a rare occurrence nowadays. I feel much more myself now and very excited to be creative with a lot of different videos in the future, so hopefully this would be much harder for me to pick at the end of the year, but this is a video I'm proud of. I was really happy to put together my 2 loves of reading and traveling and find books that really made me want to travel and hopefully encourage you to do the same as well. So if you're looking for one video to watch in the past 6 months, that's the one that I would recommend. The very last question is to shout out one of or some of your favorite creators in the booktube community. And usually I shout out a ton of people. This year I'm going to shout out one person because if you saw last week's video, you know that I've been going through it recently and it's been really hard for me to watch YouTube, especially booktube, because it kind of feels like I was on this break, I couldn't do it, and so like watching other people do it was hard for me. I don't know, I just like didn't want to interact with books or booktube at all. But over the past few weeks, the channel that is making me fall back in love with booktube again is Shubha from As Told by Shubha. She is such a breath of fresh air. I've really been enjoying her Summer Diaries series where she's just taking us along for days in her life. It really makes me feel like I'm just like hanging out with a friend on FaceTime, going about her day with her, and she's showing us the little things that she's doing in the mundanity of her life and also the special things that come up infrequently, and all the while she's sharing the books that she happens to be reading at the time. That is my recommendation to you. If you, like me, are feeling like your attention span is shot, like everything that I'm seeing on the internet is so maximized for that attention span that it ends up feeling like inauthentic, Shubha is the person that you should go watch. We actually did a buddy read together, which did not go well. We both really did not like the book. I think we're probably due for another one. So if you're watching, I think we should pick up another buddy read. We need to redeem ourselves from that first one. She has almost 1,500 subscribers and she needs a lot more. So go check out her channel, go subscribe, go watch her videos. I recommend maybe you can start with her Mid-Year Freakout Tag and get a sense for if you like the books that she's reading. But honestly, like I would watch her even if she didn't talk about books. So maybe you could just go check out her Summer Diaries and see if you like hanging out, because every time I watch her videos, I feel like I'm just yapping with my best friend. And that's what I want in YouTube. Shubha, I think I've been following you since your BookTube newbie tag. I just want to say that you're so comfortable in front of the camera now, and it's so cool to see you see your personality come out and see you being like so comfortable and confident in front of the camera. I really love seeing people come into their own on YouTube, and you definitely have done that in the time that you've been making videos, and I can't wait to see what you do next. So after you're done subscribing, as told by Shubha, let me know in the comments what book we should buddy read together, and let me know your answers to any of these questions. If you have a channel, if you post on TikTok or Instagram or anywhere else on the internet, please let me know, link to your content. I want to watch yours as well, or read yours, or whatever format it's in. I want to see it. And if you don't post on the internet and you still want to share, please feel free to do it in the comments. I would love to read through all of your faves and disappointments and highs and lows for the past 6 months. I'm really happy to be back. I'm excited to spend the next 6 months together, and we can close out 2025 much better than we started it, hopefully. I'm very excited about it. So I hope you guys will be too. I'll see you then. Bye.